Hi, I'm Carrie Higbee, the Global Director of Data Center Solutions and Services here at the Siemens Company. While the copper and fiber discussion has always been out there in the market, lately it seems to be turning into much more of an argument, especially when we look at power consumption on copper 10G-based chips. And that's unfortunate because really in the data center, copper and fiber both have a place. As a manufacturer of both copper and fiber products, there are some things that we think need to be clarified. We all know that in the data center environment, we're moving towards 10 gigabits per second. There's two alternatives now with 10G base T, one for copper and one for fiber. The power consumption currently on copper is higher than expected with first iteration chips. Some of the fiber-only proponents have jumped on this bandwagon, but really there's a lot of things going on the copper side to help balance that situation out. One of the first things is actually written into the IEEE 802.3an standard. For links under 30 meters using Category 6A or Category 7 cabling, we have what's called the short reach mode. This mode allows us to throttle back the power and operate under 30 meters in a lower power mode, about 50% of what we can do over a regular Category 6 or longer distances of Category 6A or 7 cabling. The next thing to remember when looking at power consumption, at least from the early figures, is that we're looking at first generation chips. The 10 to 17 watts per port is certainly going to be improved on, and we've already seen chip manufacturers announce improvements above that or about half that power consumption. We saw the same thing in gigabit. When the first gigabit chips came out, we were looking at about 6.5 watts per port of power consumption. Now we look at gigabit ports that are less than half a watt per port. So certainly we expect to see that decrease in the near future. Understanding that the power consumption gap between copper and fiber is going to close considerably, we can now make a comparison between the two on a more even footing. Fiber is always going to continue to enjoy its place in the data center for storage area network connections, vertical applications, core connections, but realistically what we're going to see is a combination of copper and fiber. In most data centers today we have about 60% copper and 40% fiber. While fiber has its place in the data center, so does copper, mostly for switch and server connections. If we look at moving speeds from 1 gig to 10 gig on fiber, it requires a hardware increase. One advantage that we have on copper is that 1 gig and 10 gig are supported out of the same electrical components. The other advantage that we have is when we look at latency. In copper, there is no optical to fiber conversion. This also makes the electronics less expensive. Like I said, in most data centers there's going to be some combination of copper and fiber. I encourage you to not look at marketing messages where one company says they have a solution that solves every need. There's always going to be different situations. Power consumption is certainly one, but it's not the only consideration. Cost of components and other things come into play as well. We've got a great white paper on this. I hope you visit our website and check it out.